Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. My thanks to all the viewers who sent in questions. Thank you very much. It's been interesting reading and pondering upon them. And this week we are going to go through 4 of them. So a nice juicy mix of questions. Okay, I'm going to start with the first one. And this is from Kazia W792. And the question is, I have the gate 38 in defined root 4 times in my chart, and 2 times 44 and 41 and 33 in Jupiter on both sides. What does the repetition mean? What does it mean something specific if it's more than 2 times? How the meaning changes if it's on personality or design part? Thank you so much. Okay, so yes, the fact if you have a gate more than once, it brings a emphasis onto that theme in that gate. You need to look at the line that it's in. You need to look at the planets that it's in, and then look at the planetary influence on that particular gate in that particular line. And is it in the same line elsewhere? I mean, if you've got the 38th gate 4 times, is it the same line? Is it different lines? What are the lines telling you about this major theme? And it is a major theme. If it's 4 times in the chart, there is this weight on it. And the 38 is the gate of the fighter. It is the gate of the person who will oppose those trying to bring them into a life that is not of their purpose. It's quite an aggressive gate, it can be quite aggressive. It's outside of the family. It's individual. It's about the ability to fight for one's purpose. And that will be in you, Kazia. That'll be in you. So there is this aggressive side that will come out when someone is trying to push you away from your purpose. It's just a weight. So it means that. It means look and see, are you in alignment with your purpose? If you don't have the 28 in the chart, which is the awareness of purpose, then purpose will come to you. You'll know when you need to fight for it because you'll find yourself fighting. You'll find yourself fighting unconsciously when it's in red. Other people may see that in you. We can't often see it in ourselves if it's in red, but other people will see that aggressiveness coming up, that ability to move into, wait a minute, whatever it may be, that's not for me. You'll find yourself just coming out with it. That's what it means. When it's black in the chart and you identify with that aspect of the fighter, whatever line it's in, whatever planetary influence colors it, you will recognize that in yourself. You'll see that actually you're a pretty good fighter and you can stand up for yourself, but you won't know about it in the red. It'll just come out of you. So thank you for the question. And that's for all of you to look at your own chart and to see, what have you got duplicated? And do you have it 4 times? Or 5 times, sometimes people have it in 5 times, have a gate in 5 times, or maybe even more. But usually it's 1 or 2, possibly 3. 4's a lot. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Let's move to the next. This is from Opening Openings. And their question is, what do you say about people who have extreme contradictions in their design? For example, being a quad right, but having mostly logical collective circuitry, or being a quad left with mostly abstract circuitry. Well, that's an interesting one. Thank you very much for that question. Something to ponder. It's not necessarily a contradiction, is the first thing I want to say. If you're a quad right, it means that you don't have an agendaed mind. In other words, not a goal-orientated mind. It means that you've got a passive body. You don't want to go from A to B. You want to kind of wander around and see what's going on, as an example. Your view is in the peripheral. It's not narrowed down to a particular focus. And your mind isn't active all the time. And the mind operates in a less agendaed way. It's not so active. So we have this receptivity, and yet we have a lot of logical circuitry, and logic is about the future. Where are we heading in the future? What are the sequences that are going to get us there? What is the plan? What is the formula? What is the path we need to walk to get to a better future? How can we improve things? How can we refine things? How can we find a solution to the problem and implement it so everyone's life is better? Well, you don't need to be active and goal-orientated to use that circuitry. It's going to be in you anyway. It just means that you may not be doing a whole lot about it because the body wants to be receptive. It doesn't want to be rushing around. But with logical circuitry, I can imagine, when I think about the receptive body, I think about Pilates, I think about yoga. Again, it will depend on the design itself, and I don't have a chart in front of me. But certainly the logical circuitry there would be good at giving instruction to your students. If you're a yoga teacher or a Pilates teacher, you know, it'll come out in different ways. It's not necessarily a contradiction in that sense. It's just that you're going to be one of these people that will be here to help, to want to help people, to want to help them into a better future. That will be naturally part of you. How you do it will depend upon, you know, your authority, whatever your authority says. But it's very likely it's going to be done perhaps with instruction, with lists of things, with methodologies and techniques. It could be translated into working with technical things, such as on the computing or programming. It could be excellent for that. And then you'll be sitting in front of the computer, you know, doing all the coding. You know, great. You don't have to rush around. Your logical circuitry is used and you're still being receptive. So let's look at the other side. Let's look at, let's say we've got this quad left. So agendaed, focused view, active mind, active body. And you've got a very abstract circuitry. Again, it's not necessarily an extreme contradiction in the sense that that abstract circuitry is going to want to take you into expanding through experience. It's going to take you into using that agendaed mind to have new experiences. It could be very useful. It could be very useful when I think about it. I mean, if the abstract circuitry wants to go on journeys, then the agendaed mind can be very good at planning. It doesn't mean that it's a contradiction. It can still go off the beaten track looking for something. The seeker can still be there. The journey of discovery, taking other people with you on the journey, will still be there. You know, in the imagination to have new experiences with an agendaed mind, it could be very interesting and very good, not necessarily contradiction. It's just that you're not going to be thinking about the sequences, you're going to be thinking about the experiences. You're going to be thinking about the expansion. You're going to be thinking probably in expectations of how much fun we're going to have when we actually do it. And then, of course, there's the reflection of, well, we didn't expect that. That went wrong. You know, we had a few injuries. We'll have to bring in a first aid person the next time we do this. But it was a lot of fun and we want to do it differently in another place. You know, they don't have to be contradictory is what I would say. The circuitry will take care of itself. The variable will take care of itself. The only thing you need to take care of is making the correct decision in the first place. And of course, with a lot of abstract circuitry, running this kind of inner experiment based on strategy and authority you should be curious about, especially since it actually works. So thank you very much for the question. Good one. Our next question is from Angela Delglin, and this is her question. As an emotionally defined 1-3 generator with only gate 33 defined, red and black, in an open or undefined throat center, I frequently find people simply talk over me. Of late, on the back of much clearing, I am reluctant to interact with those who repeatedly act this out. Not surprisingly, I feel a surge of anger coming up from the sacral. In my job, correctly, they do listen to me. My question, can I expect to be listened to at all outside of my job? Can I expect to only be listened to in the written form? Interesting question, Angela. And the answer is, even outside of work, out of work, they are looking for your overview. You've got overview in the open 33. That's how you filter manifestation in words and actions happening around you. You're filtering it through the 33. So if you're in a managerial position, then they should be listening to you because you have the big overview. You may not have it consistently, but you're catching it all the time. You're collecting the impressions of what's happening, what's happened before, what we need to bring back, what we need to get rid of. You're looking back in the past, no matter which way the company may be going, your job is to actively be aware of the whole story. So yeah, they're going to listen to you at work. Will they listen to you outside of work? No. I mean, not if you speak first. You're an open throat. You're not here to speak first. You're not here to start the conversation. There's no context within an open throat, and it can be too busy trying to attract attention to itself. What I want to say, what I need to say to people. I want to say this. Forget all that. Forget all that. You're here to let someone else start the conversation, and then you pick up what they've forgotten. That is your wonderful ability to be able to see what revelations can come out of what is shared in front of you, what has been shared in the past, what treasures there are in people that you remember that no one else remembers, who might just know how to help with this or that. You're here to scan manifestation. You're not here to regurgitate it all the time. You're not a manifester, you're an emotional generator. So you need to back off from the manifesting and think about the anger that's coming up, because you are going to feel it. If you want to say something and they just speak over you, they will mechanically. A manifesting generator in front of you can easily speak over you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So you can get upset if you want, but it's not going to change. If you want to attract attention to something really important, some revelation, and there are many of them, then you can do it through writing. If it comes through you, if you respond to, will they take notice of you in the writing? Well, some will and some won't. Those who are interested in the subject probably will. If you write well and you've got some interesting theories or revelations that no one else has seen, some good photographs perhaps, some way of describing what is actually going on in a way that will bring people to experiences they haven't already had, that would be very good. You can also do it if you are in front of people, if you've been invited to be there, if you've responded, to go up and do some public talking, for example. They're all sitting there waiting for you to speak. I suggest you have some slides to keep you on track, because the open throat will kind of over talk and get lost in its own words sometimes. It will go off the subject. So, you know, you need some way of keeping a track on what you're talking about to make sure you've covered all the important points that you wanted to. I would certainly do that if I was speaking publicly with an open throat. But yeah, they can pay attention to you. Think about the open-throated singers, of which there are many, who are very famous and very popular. They don't have a fixed way of speaking. They don't have a fixed context that is always there. You know, like you, they have a filter, or they have several filters to filter what's being manifested in a particular way. That doesn't mean they're not great singers. That doesn't mean we don't love the way their voice sounds. If they train it, you know, you have a very malleable throat. You can train it, and it can be beautiful. And there are many beautiful voices that I hear from open throats. So sure, they will listen to that. But if you're trying to get your ideas out and start the conversation, you're always going to meet resistance. You know, wait until there's a tension in the throat around people, you know, and that tension where there's something really that some secret you want to share, people are going to sense that. There'll be a pause in the conversation. You know, there'll be a moment where it is then appropriate for you to come in. Perhaps they ask you, what do you think? Or someone looks at you. You know, that's like, yeah, this is my way in, so I'll say this, but it will be relevant to what has been said. It'll be relevant to the focus of the group around you, because that's the topic they've been talking about. That's what you need to wait for. Okay, I hope that's been useful, something for you to ponder. And we end with quite a fun one from Dan. Which, you know, really made me laugh, and I hope it will make you laugh. Here's his question. My question is about comparison between authoritarian versus dictator. 1-3 compared to 3-5, for example, or 5-2. I would like to understand what is their role. How can an authoritarian with the boss attitude deal with a dictator who is given the whole power during a crisis? And then he writes, I am a 2-5 with design nodes in first line. What a fun question, Dan, really. Authoritarian versus dictator. It sounds like something out of one of these Marvel films, you know, the two forces meeting in a cataclysmic battle. Well, and we don't quite have enough details. You know, we're putting a 7-line 1 as an authoritarian, because although 1-3s are authoritarian in the sense that they have this first line in their personality, they're not all actual authoritarians. You know, the real authoritarian is the one with the 7th gate in the first line. So let's define our terms. And in fact, I have that in myself. So I'm here to play the role of leader, to lead in the way that I feel secure in, you know, which can be an iron hand sometimes. You know, when I'm teaching, it's like, you know, it's this way. No, this way, you know, because I'm not, well, I am now, but when I started, I wasn't secure in my leading teaching ability. I was secure in my knowing, in my knowledge, but not exactly how to play that role. And I come on there and I take over and I say what I have to say. And I answer any questions, as I'm doing with you today. So I'm an authoritarian in that sense. I'm also someone, because it's part of a fixed identity, that needs to lead himself into a better future. And I have the full alpha channel, so that is what I do. So that's the definition of authoritarian. You can say that the first line in the 1-3 has authoritarian tendencies, yes, because they're insecure. And once they've dug into that insecurity and found where they're weak and learnt about it, investigated about it, then they become strong in that. And then, of course, they want to put that out because they've investigated. It's based on them going deep. So in that sense, you could say, wherever the first line is, if you've really gone deep, you have every right to be authoritarian because you know what you're talking about. If we look at the 3-5 dictator, well, obviously not all 3-5s are going to be dictators, and there isn't a line with dictator in it. But let's say, as you say, let's say it's a crisis. Let's say there's a war situation and the 3-5 has got in there and changed things up and got people to do this and that and ordered this to happen so that, you know, whatever the dictator wants can happen. So how would the authoritarian deal with that? Well, if you are an authoritarian in the 7-line 1, it depends on what the dictator's doing. Like if they are really being a dictator because there's a lot of corruption in the country and they need to get rid of the negative forces that are feeding on the people, I'd probably give them a hand. I go, well, you know, I love what you're doing. It's, you know, you're doing it this way because it has to be done, perhaps. You know, maybe things have to be done sometimes for the in terms of crisis. You know, we have to go this way because there's a volcano happening this way. Come on, you know, it's like, that's one thing. If it's a dictator who has been placed there by, let's say, foreign governments to run the country and hold to a particular agenda, and they're taking all the funds that other countries give to them and they're using them for a lavish lifestyle, and they're hurting the people, and the country is becoming impoverished, and I was in that country as a 1-3 and it was affecting me, well, then I would probably organize something to take the bastards out. You know, I would stir up trouble, you know, because I am a 1-3 and there's this anarchistic side to me, especially with 50th Gate, with my own values. If I disagree with the values of the dictator, then I would probably become one of their enemies. I would find a way. I wouldn't go up and confront them unless I had an army behind me, and then I probably would. And I would do it in a very, you know, well-planned way. So it's really a bit too general for me to be specific. If you show me someone, the chart of someone who is a dictator, you know, then we can talk about it. And we can talk about it depending on their channels, what else they've got in them, what type they are, where they are. You know, we can talk about it more in detail. And that's another reason why I wanted to answer your question. Because yes, you are a 2-5, and I love the question. Thank you. It's a lot of fun, and second lines do want to play, so I enjoyed the game. But actually, when it comes to really wanting to answer that kind of question, I need the chart in front of me, because at the end of the day, it's not just a dictator; it's a particular dictator. It's not just an authoritarian, it's a particular kind of authoritarian with their own life forces. You know, okay, so we know they're a 1-3, but that's really all we know. It's not quite enough information to describe how one would deal with the other. But I hope you enjoyed my answer. I had fun doing it, and I hope you all had fun. And if you did, and if you've enjoyed what we've been speaking about, please like, share, and subscribe. Let people know about the channel, and I'll be back again very soon with something completely different. Bye-bye for now.